feel like I'm forgetting something. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's been a kind of noisy day in my neighborhood. It's a Sunday. Everyone's home. Oh wait, everyone's home every day. So maybe there'll be some ambient noise. That's okay. I just decided to make a quick little video showing how I do my eyebrows, which is why I left one of them blank. Just going to show you the method that I use. I'm also going to include a link below to a video by another influencer I really like named Samantha Ravendahl, who introduced me to something that made me go, huh? Which is soap brows. You heard that right, soap brows. I know that sounds super weird. You're like, what is that? How is that a thing? Well, it's a thing, and it works pretty great, and I'm going to show you. When I first heard this, I thought it must be a joke. I was like, there's no way this works. It does work really well. However, it is not a simple, everyday, quick eyebrow technique. It's really more the other end of the spectrum. It's if you want something a little bit more precise, if you're willing to spend the time. And I would also say it's not a beginner level skill. So if you want to do something new with your eyebrows that you haven't done before, and you've been doing your brows for a while and you've used a variety of different brow products from pencils to pomades. If you are familiar with using brow gels and how those work, then this will make more sense to you. If none of that or not all of that, if you're mostly just familiar with using a brow pencil and sort of just coloring in the shape of your brows, but you haven't done this type of technique, it's going to probably seem a little bit like a little much. I like taking my time on my brows sometimes. There's the other part of me that would really like to get microblading done, but that's expensive and it's kind of high maintenance. And I think it's probably really challenging to find someone who's really good at microblading that you can keep going to when you need touch-ups. So anyway, I'm rambling. The idea of the soap brow is to actually create a shape and sort of build some volume on the natural hairs of your eyebrows. I filmed a video earlier before I put any makeup on, which I'm going to show you now. All right, y'all, good morning. This is me. This is before face. This is what I look like with zero makeup, discoloration and all. And this is what my natural eyebrows look like, which is why I'm making this little video for you. So you can see just how sparse my natural brows are before I put them on. Okay, now that you've seen that, I'm going to show you what I did to get my eyebrow to look like this. So obviously this one is totally finished. I use this Dr. Bronner's soap because I really love it. I love the smell, and I like that it has natural ingredients, and I have sensitive skin. I wouldn't just use any old soap unless you don't have sensitive skin, but if you do, probably a better idea to use a more natural soap. Not to mention, I have used a lot of different eyebrow primers. Some of them are great. This is the cheapest, most long-lasting eyebrow primer I have ever used, and I can't imagine myself buying another primer in a tube again. However, this is a more unforgiving technique. If you don't want to have to do your eyebrows really precisely, if you want a little more play in the hairs of your eyebrows, then I would not use soap. I would recommend just using a primer. You can see that I've been doing this for a while. You can see some texture in the soap already. So basically what I do is I just wet the spoolie underneath, and you can use any old spoolie, works fine, under the faucet, and I just run it back and forth over the soap till it builds a little bit up on the edge. And so it's like just a little bit of wet soap in one side of the spoolie, and then I just run it through the brows carefully. Now, another point, if you are going to do this and you are doing a full face with foundation, with complexion, you probably want to do this before you do that. I actually did it the other way around, but it forces you to be a lot more cautious when you're actually brushing the soap into the brow because it's soap. And obviously it can wash off the makeup, the foundation around the brow. What I will end up doing sometimes is getting some of that makeup like just above the brow, and I can sort of tap it down just a little bit and sort of like push it into the skin. It never ends up messing up my brows later or making them not hold. This method makes your brows stay put really successfully. So I brush it into the brow. My natural brows, they're very sparse, and that's why I take the spoolie and I brush the brow hairs straight upward and at a slight angle. I also pay attention to the angles at which I brush the hairs because that's going to determine how they then end up looking. So part of what I have thought of as a little trick here, and this is part of how I sort of, to some extent, hide some of the signs of aging, or at least give myself the illusion of my face being slightly lifted just by making my eyebrows go up a little bit higher. It's like the starting point of the brow. It's hard to explain, but basically just the way that I'm brushing the eyebrows upward and then the way that I'm filling them in gives an illusion of lifting upward. And then the way that I do my eyeliner also is for similar strategic reasons. I really want to talk in my videos about my feelings on having aging skin. I'm 41.5, more than that, years old. I will be 42 in July. Just to say real briefly, I despise the gendered treatment of aging. And I am determined to never let myself feel anything less than beautiful because of lines in my face, which is evidence of all the fun I had out in the summer, out on the water. The lines in my face are evidence of all the expressions I make, the smiles, the tears, all of it. That's what my face is. That's why I look the way I look, and there's nothing wrong with it. Yes, I like to tweak things with makeup, but I also am on a continuing mission to find love and acceptance for my face the way it is. I love my damn wrinkles. I'm gonna take them, and I love your wrinkles too, because that's part of what makes your face beautiful too. And if you don't have wrinkles, or you have acne, or you have scars, or you have anything that makes your face imperfect, then I want you to know you are beautiful too. Okay, on that note, so I'm gonna show you what I'm using here. I'm going to use the same brush that I used for my eyeliner in a previous video, which I don't think I said what it was, but it is the It Cosmetics. Again, I really love that brand. I feel like all their stuff is on point. This is the 217 Angled Liner Brow Brush. I like this brush so much, I have a couple of them. So what I'm actually doing is using an eyeshadow, which is roughly the same thing as using a brow powder. I just happen to have this shadow, and one day I just tried it and I was like, this is just the right shade to me. It's a cool brown shade, which for me is a good brow color. This color is by Urban Decay. It's called Buck, and as you can see, it is well used and it's old. I hope they still have this color, but if not, you can also use a brow powder. I like to wet the brush, and I also will use like a little cotton round with a little bit of tea tree oil and witch hazel, which I like to use to just sort of like keep the brush clean, but also I like that little bit of oil on the brush, and I just tap it into the powder and start brushing it in. Again, I'm being really mindful. I kind of like to jump in like just in about a third of the way, I guess I would say. And this is one of those things that's also really tough for me to do on camera, but I'm gonna do my best. So notice I'm using the brush in a really light-handed way, and I'm just sort of flicking upward in line with the hairs as they are, because like as words let me try that one again. I fell down the stairs. Because your brows are already set with soap, which is really firm when it dries down, which takes like no time. It dries down in like a minute maybe. Because of that, it's important to like not sort of go against the grain. So I'm trying to go in line with the brows as they were set. I'm just sort of filling them in. So I want to clarify that the reason I'm using a brush versus a pencil, I don't think it would be the best thing to use a pencil for soap brows or soap set brows, unless you were using one of those pencils that some brands have put out recently, the shape of a eyebrow hair. It's like a flat pencil, and as you screw it upward, it maintains that shape. Something like that could definitely work, but even if you're using that, you do have to continuously sort of notice how as I go, I subtly change the angle of the brush so that it's in line with the hairs. And I'm just going to continue to fill that in. Okay, over the years, this is funny. When I look at old photos of me from a few years ago, and I thought, you know, my face was beat, my brows were like on point, and now I look down and I'm like, whoa. Okay. I think it's funny how it's partly that trends change, but it's also that your skills change. And when I thought my brows looked badass, they looked kind of crazy to me now when I look back. And they were in line with plenty of makeup trends at the time, but they still look kind of crazy. Now, that's my opinion now. My opinion then, I enjoyed it, fuck it, right? But now I'm thinking, okay, am I gonna look back in a couple of years and be like, what in the fuck? You thought that was a good idea? All right, and another thing I wanna say, is a good friend of mine, and I talk about makeup, and you know, we share pictures each day of what we're doing with our face or what's going on makeup wise, all that stuff. She has told me before that she doesn't particularly like the shade that I use, which I'm using after this, I'll show you, to continue filling in. She's just not a fan. She thinks it's too dark on me, and it is actually a really dark shade for my hair color and complexion, but you know what, I like it, so I don't give a fuck if other people don't like it. And that's what I always come back to, and that's what I want to tell you is, like, if you like it, that's really all that matters, number one. And yeah, I think we all can keep working on our techniques and stuff, but I think it's really important to just go with your own gauge of what makes you happy when you put your makeup on, when you're looking at your face in the mirror. Do what makes you feel good and light and have fun, because makeup is supposed to be fun. And the funny thing too is I did my easy brow first, which I should have done it the other way around. You know, everyone has like one side that is easier for them than the other. That's definitely true with me. So as I come towards the inside part, this is where I feel like you can really make your brows awesome or make them look really unnatural. So I'm holding the brush, see how the angle is here? I'm holding it so that this part is at the bottom. And then I'm just flicking really, really gently in the inner part of the brow. Our heater is making crazy noises again. Please forgive me. It makes such weird noises, dude, really. I'm trying to make it so light that it almost is just looking at the skin, not even touching. It's like, oh, that's how gentle it is. And one of the things that I'm trying to do here is I'm really not wanting to overly fill it in. I want there to be a little skin showing through between hairs, because that's what makes it maintain that natural look. Now I'm going to use another brush, and unfortunately I can't read the name anymore because it's worn off. But anyway, any type of brush. So you'll notice the two brushes side by side. This one is more precise, tighter bristles, finer point, a little sharper. I'm doing that because I'm using it with the pomade, which is a lot heavier. It's gonna give a lot more color payoff, and it's denser. And I don't want it to be too much. I don't want to put a ton of that on because it's too much. This is Anastasia Dip Brow, of course, and it's in ebony, which, like I said, I know, dark color on me. That's what I have on this eyebrow already, so take it or leave it. I'm just putting a teeny bit on the tip of the brush, and I always use the cap and just sort of like blot it off and make sure that my brush is really nice and fine at that point, in a nice fine point. And then again, I never start on the inside because that's where you have the most product on your brush, and I don't want to have these big, like, crazy marks in the middle part of the brow. So same idea. I'm just doing these tiny flicking movements. You know, I always have a dirty joke in my head somewhere. So I can be a little bit more sort of liberal with going against the hairs or against the grain at the outside of the brow. And I do that because, like, obviously I have product on my brows, right? So the way I look at it is, like, if that outer corner or that tail portion of the brow apparently has product on it that's sort of penciled in, I don't care about that. It's more that I want it to look like my eyebrows are, like, naturally a little bushy and, like, there's a lot of hair there when there's, like, very little. In case you're wondering, the mirror I'm using is the Gemini palette. I don't know if you saw that already. You probably did. Another glorious Melt Cosmetics palette. And like I said about being a one-trick pony, when it comes to eyeshadows, I haven't bought any non-Melt Cosmetics eyeshadows in several years now because I love them so much. I'm so impressed with the way that they put colors together that you might not anticipate wanting to use together. It really stimulates my creativity to want to try different combinations and stuff. So to me, even just the handful of Melt palettes and stacks that I have there's endless possibilities. So I will continue to use Melt in these videos probably. It's amazing to me how subtly you can make your brows look great, or how a subtle sort of one false move can really, like, throw them off. Like if you do a mark too far in, and then I always have to go back and check and see, are my brows aligned with each other? Well, they're not. Like this one is clearly fuller than this one, so I have to go back in and kind of tweak it a little bit. All right, and that's the finished brows. It was a pretty simple one, pretty quick. No, it isn't really that quick when you're doing it at home and you don't have the benefit of editing. Doing brows is one of those things that is really intimidating to people. What I always think is the best advice is use products that you feel like you have control over. If this whole idea of using a bar of soap and a spoolie and 2 different brow things and multiple brushes, if that just totally stresses you out, don't fucking do it. Don't even worry about it. Go out there and find a product like the pencil I mentioned that has that angled shape. If you feel intimidated by this brow technique, then maybe it's just not the right one for you, or you can work up to it. But like any artistic skill, this isn't necessarily the most intuitive or easy for just anybody to do. It takes a lot of practice. I've been doing my makeup and doing my eyebrows almost every day since I was like 13. Okay, so I have a lot of practice under my belt. It might sound silly, but if you don't do anything to really work on your skills with makeup, but you want to just overall have your face look more awake, look more alert, look more, not in a crazy way, hopefully. If you want to enhance your bone structure, brows are such a cool technique to learn because it can really just completely change your face. Also, if you're one of those people like me who overplucked in the 90s because that was trendy to have those super skinny eyebrows, and now you have, like me, very sparse eyebrows, there are techniques like this that I was surprised really made a huge difference and made it look like I have eyebrows when I barely do at all. So this is today's edition of trying to pretend the world isn't ending using makeup as a distraction. And I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you're doing well and finding ways to be a positive in your community and also have fun and be creative in any way that makes you feel good. So thank you again for watching. Please like and subscribe down below, and I will catch you on the next one.